Before we begin, try a simple question. Who are you when you are not trying to be anyone? Notice the pause that follows. A name arrives. A few roles arrive. Maybe a memory. Maybe a worry. The mind gathers familiar pieces and calls the pile me. Buddhism invites a different look. Not a denial. Not an insult. A look. It says the sense of self is workable, useful, and not the thing we imagine. When we see this clearly, certain kinds of suffering lose their fuel. The grip relaxes. Care grows steadier. Action grows cleaner. That is the promise of this talk. In earlier videos, we explored dukkha and the cause of extra struggle. Today, we turn to the shape of the one who struggles. In Pali, the teaching is called Anattā, often translated not self. Many hear that and tense up. Does this mean I do not exist? Does this cancel love, responsibility, or joy? Number. The teaching simply says that what we call self is a living process. It is not a fixed core hidden behind the eyes. It is more like a river than a statue, more like a melody than a solid object. When grasping tries to turn that melody into marble, friction appears. When grasping loosens, the melody keeps playing and the friction fades. This is an ear-friendly tour of that insight. We will start by clearing the most common misunderstandings. We will map what self means in early Buddhism using everyday language. We will see how identity hardens around craving and clinging, and how it softens when conditions change. We will hold the whole topic with warmth through the heart qualities that the tradition trains. Then we will close with a set of plain practices you can test this week in the middle of ordinary life. No jargon maze. No verse numbers. Just clear steps you can hear once and remember. Part 1. What not self is not. Not self is not a claim that you are a ghost. It is not a cold metaphysical trick. It does not ask you to walk through life pretending you have no history, no relationships, no dreams. The teaching points to how experience actually comes together. It says that the feeling of I is built from conditions that move. It is a useful feeling. Try writing an email without pronouns and you will see the point. But the I in the email is a roll in motion, not a diamond behind the roll. The early discourses speak to this with the tone of a craftsman. They do not scold. They describe. Over and over they point to 3 simple fingerprints on all conditioned things: impermanence, unreliability, and not self. Impermanence means change without permission. Unreliability means nothing conditioned gives permanent satisfaction on demand. Not self means the parts do not house a fixed owner inside them. When the mind builds identity as if those fingerprints were not there, tension appears. When the mind remembers the fingerprints, it relates to life instead of prosecuting it. The result is not apathy. It is relief. If you worry that not self will erase care, consider this experiment. Think of someone you love. Notice how quickly love becomes a kind of ownership when fear enters the room. My child must be this. My partner must do that. My parent must change. The love is real. The ownership creates the burn. Not self does not cancel love. It removes ownership from the center of love so that warmth can stay without squeezing. the heart gets freer to respond. The hand gets gentler and steadier. Part 2. The Buddhist map of self in plain language. Buddhism does not speak about the self as one thing. It speaks about a cluster of processes that travel together. A classic frame calls them the 5 aggregates, or the 5 Khandha. Picture a small ensemble on a stage. 5 instruments playing one song. The first instrument is the body. Bones and breath. Temperature and posture. This is the bass note. You know you are here because the body is breathing now. The second is feeling tone. Not emotions yet. The fast taste of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral that arrives with every contact. Warm mug. Cold wind. Soft voice. Sharp noise. This is the little nudge that sends attention forward or backward. The third is perception. The mind's habit of tagging and sorting. This is a cup. That is my friend. That sound is danger. That look is approval. Perception is lightning fast and full of memory. The fourth instrument is called formations or intentions. Think of everything the mind does with what it recognizes. Plans, opinions, moods, impulses, habits. This is where momentum lives. I will try harder. I hate this. I want more of that. Finally, there is consciousness. Not a soul parked behind the eyes. Rather, the bare there is knowing that lights up when sight meets color, when sound meets ear, when feeling meets attention. When these 5 play together, the song feels like me. Useful. Convincing. But none of the instruments alone is the owner. None of them stays fixed. The body changes. Feeling tone flips from sweet to sharp and back again. Perception mislabels and then corrects. Intentions turn out wise one hour and unwise the next. Consciousness blinks with each sense contact and does not stand still. The teaching says, listen closely. The music is real. The musician you imagine is not sitting in the chair you think. The song is an event, not a possessor. This map of 5 does not float above life. It explains why identity feels so convincing. The mind tags the stream with a name and a story. Then craving leans in. Keep this. Stop that. Become more of this. Erase that. Clinging tightens. I must be. I will not be. You must give me. You must stop. A small world hardens around those moves. In the early language, this is called becoming. It is the moment when a flowing process starts acting like a fence. Suffering follows because fences do not sit well on rivers. The river moves anyway, and the fence grinds. Part 3. Conditions, not essence. The early teachings keep returning to one simple truth. Experiences arise with conditions and change when conditions change. The Pali term is paticca samuppada, often rendered dependent origination. No need to memorize the term. Feel the spirit. Nothing stands alone. Nothing is self-sealed. What we feel as I is a braid of conditions. See how this plays out in ordinary identity. Perhaps you once adopted a sentence like, "I am the reliable one." It grew from praise in school, from family patterns, from fear of chaos, from a talent for planning. Useful conditions. Then, life added new conditions. A body that needed rest. A partner who carried different strengths. A child who did not obey your calendar. The identity, "I am the reliable one," did not update. It turned into a court order. Because I am the reliable one, everyone must be on my time. Friction arrived. Not because reliability is wrong, because essence replaced conditions. The same pattern shows up with painful labels. I am anxious. Grammar turns a passing weather system into a solid mountain. The body tightens. The label gathers evidence. The day bends around it. Not self does not pretend anxiety is imaginary. It helps you say, anxiety is present. That shift is small and huge at once. It returns you to conditions. How is the breath? What is the feeling tone? What story is perception telling? What intention is rising? What would ease one condition now? The identity softens a notch. Action becomes possible again. The Mahayana tradition offers an image that can help here. The Heart Sutra says, "Form is emptiness, emptiness is form." Emptiness does not mean a vacuum. It means not fixed essence. The cup on your table is clay and water and heat and hands and a store and a truck and a gift and you. Take away any thread in that web and the cup changes or never appears. The same is true of you. Because there is no fixed essence, movement is possible. Because there is interdependence, kindness matters. Not self is not a downgrade. It is a door. When identity shifts from essence to conditions, ethics gets teeth. If everything is essence, nothing can change, so excuses are easy. This is just who I am. If everything is conditions, choice returns. You can cultivate a different tone in speech. You can practice a different timing in action. You can strengthen patience or clarity the way you strengthen a muscle. The world still moves. The results are not guaranteed. But the game is no longer locked. Part 4. Warmth and responsibility. A common fear says, if I loosen the self, will I stop caring? The tradition answers with 4 friends, known as the brahmavihāras. Loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity. Think of them as heart muscles that keep the practice warm. Loving kindness wishes well without needing to possess. Compassion meets pain without turning away or turning cruel. Appreciative joy delights in good wherever it appears, not only when it flatters me. Equanimity keeps care steady when life rocks. Together they prove that not self does not chill the room. It keeps the room habitable. Ethics also gets clearer. When the self is treated as essence, apologies feel like surrender and boundaries feel like betrayal. When the self is treated as process, apologies become maintenance and boundaries become architecture. Right speech, right action, right livelihood, these are not scorecards. They are ways of reducing fuel for the fires that craving and clinging love to burn. Speak honestly and kindly, and there is less mess to defend. Avoid harm, and there is less guilt to rationalize. Work in ways that match conscience, and the night grows quieter. Not self supports this, because you are not busy performing a marble version of yourself. You are free to maintain the living version. A side effect surprises many people. Loosening a rigid self often increases courage. If the statue must survive intact, every risk is terrifying. If the river can keep flowing, setbacks are information, not verdicts. You can say I was wrong without collapsing, because there is no frozen I to shatter. You can say I do not know yet without shame, because learning does not threaten essence. You can say no with warmth, because love is no longer confused with compliance. These are signs that not self is maturing into a way of being, not a slogan. Part 5. Ways to feel it this week. The point is touch, not theory. Here are ways to feel not self in your day without a ceremony, without special gear. Begin with language. When strong moods arrive, trade identity grammar for process grammar. Anger is here. Fear is here. Joy is here. This is not a trick. It is a correction. The mind stops gluing the weather to the name tag. Often that small move is enough to change what happens next. When anger is me, it must be defended. When anger is present, it can be understood. Add a two-step check whenever you feel pushed. First, ask, what is the feeling tone right now? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Say it softly to yourself. Second, ask, what is the intention rising to meet this? To cling, to push, to check out, to be curious, to be kind. The moment you see these two steps, the quick taste and the quick move, you are no longer trapped inside them. You are next to them. Choice returns. Use the 5-instrument image at least once a day. Pick an ordinary moment. Washing a cup. Opening an email. Sitting at a red light. Name the instrument silently. Body breathing. Feeling tone pleasant. Perception says urgent. Formations want to hurry. Consciousness is aware of sound and sight. Do not analyze. Just name. Most people notice a small widening. The moment contains more than the story was telling. The I gets room to breathe. Watch for the hinge where preference becomes must. It has a sound. I hope turns into I must. This would be nice turns into this cannot happen. When you hear the hinge, add a breath. Soften one notch. Ask, what condition would help right now? A glass of water. A kind sentence. A 5-minute pause before replying. A boundary spoken without poison. None of these solves the universe. They change the 1 square foot in which your life actually happens. Practice generosity in small, concrete ways. Give money. Give time. Give attention without your phone in your hand. Give credit to someone else publicly. Each gift tells the nervous system a new story about what mine means. Possession eases its grip. Abundance stops meaning I control. It starts meaning I can share. Generosity is one of the fastest teachers of not-self because it cuts ownership at the root while increasing warmth instead of reducing it. Try the mirror test. Once a day while brushing your teeth, look at your own face as if it were a friend's. Notice how many identities you have worn to get to this sink. Student and teacher. Child and caregiver. Sick and strong. Sad and happy. Wrong and right. Watch them pass across the mirror like clouds across a hill. The hill does not need a permanent cloud to be a hill. The face does not need a permanent identity to be a person. Offer one line of loving kindness, out loud if you can. May you be steady. Then rinse and go. When grief or joy or fear or pride swells, hear the Heart Sutra's rhythm in plain words. This is form and emptiness together. Let it mean only this. This is alive and not fixed. The swelling will pass because all swells pass. You do not need to freeze it or run from it. You can be the host, not the hostage. That is not self in motion. Finally, borrow a small image for the week. Picture a knot in a scarf. The knot is tight. You think of the knot as the scarf's nature. It is not. It is a learned shape. Warm fingers and time allow the threads to slip past one another. The scarf does not vanish. It returns to what it can be. When an identity feels tight, imagine the knot loosening. Give it warmth and time. Act in a way that gives the threads room. A kind sentence where an accusation would have gone. A pause where pressure would have gone. A clear no where resentment would have gone. The knot remembers how to be cloth. A workable way to be someone. By now, you can feel the arc. Not self is not a theory to believe or reject. It is a way of seeing that matches how experience is built. The self is real as a song is real. 5 instruments play. Feeling tone tugs. Perception tags. Formations rush in with plans and moods. Consciousness lights the scene. Craving leans. Clinging tightens. A small world hardens and calls itself me. Then the world moves, as it always does, and the fence grinds. When we see the construction clearly, we can build differently. We can step out of essence and back into conditions. We can trade defense for maintenance. We can let love lose its ownership and keep its warmth. This does not make you a shadow. It frees you to be a better neighbor to your own life and to the lives around you. You can still have a name and a calendar and a laugh that your friends recognize across the room. You can still keep promises and learn from your mistakes. The difference is simple and large. You stop insisting that a moving river prove it is a statue. You stop prosecuting the world for refusing to obey your snapshot. You keep acting. You keep caring. The acting grows cleaner. The caring grows steadier. If you want something to carry out of this talk, carry 3 quiet habits. Speak to moods as guests, not rulers. Watch for the hinge where I prefer turns into I must and soften 1 notch. Tend 1 useful condition wherever you stand. These are not heroic gestures. They belong to anyone. They belong to you as you are. In the next video, we will keep walking this path by looking at impermanence more closely. Not as a slogan, as a friend that tells the truth and sets down the weight we do not need to carry. For now, let the river be a river. Let the song keep moving. Be kind to the instruments. And keep listening.